So I enjoyed listening to that as well.
All right, you are live on YouTube. Dr. Sorah Dubitsky, this mic is all yours.
Well, okay. So I just posted on Facebook about, what did I call Basics of A Course in Miracles? And I gave this address. So I don't know if anybody saw it, not. I just did that about 20 minutes ago. Uh, but what has been occurring to me is this idea to talk just a little bit about how I came to A Course in Miracles. And are these sessions recorded, Lynn?
Yes, this is on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Cool.
Yes.
Okay. So what's hard coming to me is when I was a little kid, little girl, um, I used to wonder, even until kind of got bigger and into my, from being little into my 20s. um, I would look around this world and it's like, why? Where is, if there's a God, why is the world such a mess? And yeah, my mother was a Holocaust survivor, and there was a circle of friends. My father and she had circle of friends, people from Europe, Jewish people from Europe. And some of the women had, and men, had tattoos on their arms. And some of the women had been experimented on and they couldn't have children. And, growing up with these thoughts around me, it's like, what's wrong? What's wrong with this world? If there's a God, hey, how come there's war and how come there's starvation? How come there's, people killing people? So I gave up on God. I became agnostic. So I have a joke. Um, what do you call an agnostic dyslexic? What do you call an agnostic dyslexic? So, an agnostic dyslexic is someone who doubts the existence of dog. That's the joke. So I doubted the existence of dog and God. And yet there was always something missing from my life. And I won't, go the whole story, but finally kind of things came to a head. Well, I was like in my early 30s. And the emptiness and questioning, who am I, where am I going, what am I doing here, kind of came to a head. And then, long story short, I actually heard Diane Gusick, who's still around, give a lecture on astrology. And she started out her lecture with the three words, "We are whole." And that just lit me up, okay, I will pursue this lady. And at the time, she was involved, of course, in miracles. So I learned about it. And then again, long story short, it came to me, several months later. And what the course did was open my mind. It starts with the basic premise that God did not create this world. What do you mean God did not? All the religions, I don't know about all the religions. I don't know all the religions, but the dominant religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, God created this world. Which the Course talks about. If God created this world, that's a nutty God. My husband of blessed memory used to say that, he grew up thinking God was schizophrenic. God was, crazy, that he had a better character than God. So he also grew up with this idea, didn't believe in anything. And then, he had his own story about the Course came to him. It involved an artist model. Larry was an artist. His paintings are, two of his paintings are behind me. So, um, when I heard this idea that this world was not created by God, well, who did create it? You did. What is that? What do you mean? I'm not, how can I create an entire world? And then what we learn as we go through the course and read the book and start practicing lessons and practicing seeing the world through the eyes of love, we realize, yeah, I created the world. Now, what does that mean? I created the world. So in the course is terms, and I do want to pay attention to time. So some of this is a repeat of what I said a few weeks ago, but in the beginning, everything, there was total oneness, and I mentioned the Kabbalah that I studied for a couple of years, which is Jewish mysticism. So they have some of the same teachings as the course. Mystics get it. Mystics see see this world like kind of as a veil, and underneath this veil is what I would call, the real world, a world of love, a world of connection, a world of non-separation, non-duality. Different religions talk about that. Buddhism is big on non-duality. So, where was I? So the course has its own, okay, so in the beginning, that's where it was. In the beginning, all was one. And then there was the shattering, something happened. And this total oneness, the Kabbalah talks about like a sheet of glass, and for some reason, the glass cracked and it broke off into thousands and thousands of shards. And what our job here is to do is to reawaken that awareness of oneness in all of these shards. That the only problem we have in this world is one problem. We think we're separate from each other, and we're separate from the totality. You call it the universe, you can call it God, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But there is an undercurrent that connects everything. And when we tap into that, we become one with that, and it's like we're different people. Otherwise, we live in separation, and separation. If I'm separate from anything, and just walled off in this body, I'm afraid of everything. If the body is our total reality, then there's everything to be afraid of. If the body is not our total reality, if there's this spiritual reality, I mentioned the shards of glass, and like inside, if we carry that spark, that memory of oneness, that memory of love, unity, then we feel safe. So back to in the beginning, when the world of oneness was shattered, all these shards broke off, and walls, kind of built around them. Rabbi Zalman Schachter talks about they grew husks, and this shard of glass, this memory of who they were, became hidden. And in the course's path, the way to reconnect with that, shard of perfect oneness, of perfect peace, of togetherness is through this idea of forgiveness. But in order to be able to forgive, we have to be able to kind of break through our barriers of perception, which I'll get to in a moment. We have to be willing to give up our own ideas. And one of the notes I made is that, the course is it's a philosophical system. I think it provides kind of a way of living in the world, a way of looking at the world, philosophy. And it's based, the course's way of looking at the world is based on love and being the presence of love and training our mind to see love instead of separation, to see as separation breeds fear. So the course's philosophy is teach only love, for that is what you are. That the love that we carry inside through our behavior, through our demonstration, becomes a way of life. So that's a philosophy. The course is also a psychology, meaning it talks about the mind, and that's what brought me to it. I have a doctorate in psychology. I've been studying psychology a long time. Um, I started studying psychology in the late 1960s, when all they spoke about was Sigmund Freud and his theories, and then B.F. Skinner and conditioning theories, and that was it. Psychology has blossomed since then. Um, but it's very psychologically oriented in terms of when you're looking at the world, you're looking at the world either through the eyes of love, which is what the course calls your right mind, or the eyes of fear, which the course calls your wrong mind. So we're dealing with mind. We're dealing with changing the way we see the world. So that's very psychological. If you think somebody hurt you, how can you see this differently? And modern psychology has kind of made up with some of this. There's a model. Um, hmm, what is it? It'll come to me where you're looking at the world, um, and something happened and you're upset, and I can't think of the name of the model. Anyway, something happened, you're upset, and you're reactive, and then like if you do a plan, what A, B, C, and D, but it's actually A, C, B, and D. So something happens, C, your reaction is you're upset. Um, what's between A and C? So think something happens, you're upset. What's between A and C? Well, the letter B. What does B stand for? Beliefs. And then so you start looking at what I believed about what happened rather than what happened, that we react to our beliefs, not what's actually going on. And that brings us into this. And then G is how you dispute that, how you change. So A, C, B, D, and it's like right on the tip of my tongue. It's a form of cognitive behavioral therapy. Um, and in a sense, that's the course process. That if we're upset, the idea is I never upset for the reasons I think. That's a workbook lesson. If we're upset, you have to look at, what's going on inside. Where are you feeling separate? And I have a story about that. And then the last thing is, the course is spiritual. So it's a philosophy, how you want to, how you view the world, how you want to be in the world. It's psychology. How are you using your mind? How can you change your mind? And then it's a spiritual discipline, in that you become aware of what your relationship is with God, the universe, uh, Jesus, beauty, higher masters, higher self, that there's an alternative way of being in the world that's based on love and and or connection to God, to know you're not separate. So now we do in time. Okay. So a quick story. Someone earlier, I think it was Mickey who was here, someone earlier talked about feeling abandoned. And I had my own abandonment story. I have a few abandonment stories, but this one is funny. Yeah, my husband, a blessed memory, um, yeah, told me he's going to go to Italy with his daughter. And then this was, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago. Something like that. It was a while ago. So he wanted to go to Italy with his daughter, and I was in graduate school and I was teaching, and I could not get away, and I was really upset. Yeah, like he was abandoned, and I did some prayer work. Prayer work is part of the course process, to ask higher self, higher guidance, also known as the Holy Spirit, ask to for a different way of seeing this. So what is my core issue? What am I really upset about? Not that I want to go to Italy and he's not going to go. The core issue came up to be abandonment. And I heard that, right, you feel abandoned. Okay, I feel abandoned. And then the thought, I mean, at that point, I'd been practicing the course maybe 20 years. The follow-up thought was, well, um, intellectually, you're not separate, you're not separated from God. You can't be abandoned. And there's beautiful lines, like poetic lines in the course that talks about, we're always connected. And there's one workbook lesson I just read, like, who walks with me? That you're always guided and you're never alone and you can't be abandoned. There's beautiful, passages that talk about that. And so I got this idea, you can't be abandoned. That was not good enough for me. So one night I was driving to work and teaching at night, and um, I had this inner dialogue going on with, okay, I can't be abandoned. You like got it. I can't be abandoned, but I need something that's going to keep me company so I don't feel lonely. That's not good enough. The intellectual, you can't be abandoned, is not good enough. I need something more tangible. And then from out of nowhere, a little voice pops up in my head, and the voice says, "Get kittens." I love that story. So that makes sense. And a friend, just coincidentally, had a litter, and we did have an older cat. And I had been thinking about maybe getting kittens, but my husband didn't want to deal with it. Because getting new animals can be disruptive to your life, and he didn't want to deal with it. So, I heard get kittens. And so we did. We got two kittens. They were brother and sister. And it was perfect. He went to Italy and I stayed home. And I had work to do. But I had these two little kittens, to kind of, break in and play. And it was such a joy, watching them discover this new house. One of them, he went, we had a two-story townhouse, and one of them, braved the stairs, and he was so excited about going up the stairs and finding new rooms. So I was I was the demonstration was that you are never alone, and there's always an answer, and something always comes to you. And to go back to the course, it's a practice because you have to work at it constantly. How many days, how many times during the day am I tempted to be upset? Well, let's see, last year I was driving to Miami, traffic, um, or turn on the news, or a bill comes late, or so many reasons to get upset. And what the course promises is peace of mind. It doesn't promise nirvana. It doesn't, like escape from the world. It doesn't promise, yeah, you're gonna be in abundance. A lot of for a while there were a lot of disciplines, practicing like prosperity consciousness doesn't talk about that. It promises peace of mind, but again, it's written on levels. I mean, just 4 minutes. So I started talking about the right mind and the wrong mind, and in this like in the psychology portion or teachings, um, there's this concept of one mind, which was how we started out. Everything was oneness, and I'm not sure what form that is. Form and content, different things. Are we on some plane with, where everybody's radiating energy? And that happens, by the way, with practice. You see people's energy fields. But what that total oneness looked like, some futuristic world, or I don't know. But in the beginning, the one mind. In this world, we could be either in our right mind or wrong mind. And it's very simple. In our right mind, we're identifying with our spiritual self and listening to, the voice of higher guidance. And in our wrong mind, we're identifying with the separate self, which the Course calls the ego. And the ego is anything we identify as I, and then there's one place. Yeah, the egos. So in this world, too, we don't try to have peace of mind. We try to get rid of our fears and worries and doubts by seeing it out there. Um, to the spirit side or right mind inside, we get rid of our fear, angers, and doubts through this process of forgiveness. And then just one quick paragraph. The ego's plan, that's the separated self, the ego's plan for salvation centers around holding grievances. And have you met people like this? I have. I have. They just like everything is bad, everything is wrong. And they're holding grievances, and the whole world is working against them. Um, Let's see. It maintains that if someone else spoke or acted differently, if some external circumstance or event were changed, you would be saved. So it's like you try to fix the world on the outside instead of fixing our inner world. And just in retrospect, um, my personal experience with the course, and it has definitely made me happier, more peaceful, and more focused on what my function is in the world, which is to extend love. So I could go on, but it's 2:59, and there's actually someplace else I want to be. So Lynn, I turn this back over to you. I hope that was interesting. I'm not sure if anyone is here, or I was talking to myself, but it doesn't matter. Oh, you heard one of my jokes. You laughed. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we're always talking to ourselves. So there's never there's never anybody else. But thank you so much, Sora. I do appreciate your humor and your knowing of the Course of Miracles and psychology. It's great. It was wonderful to have another psychologist with us.
Yes, yeah,
All right.
PhD.
PhD. God bless
PhD.
you.
And my book's going to be coming out pretty soon, so
Oh, cool.
I'm gonna want to talk about that a little bit at another time. So for
Very
now,
good.
I'm gonna sign off. I'll check in a little bit more during the week. It's nice to have this on in the background, better than the news,
Oh, for sure. So I'm
for
going to go ahead
sure.
and close out the YouTube. Thank you so much. And I'm going to close out the YouTube, but please stay here for a minute because I want to talk to you for just a second. So
Sure.
thank you so much, Dr. Sorah Dubitsky. And